Chairwoman Jessica Milan Patterson, Independent Women's Law Center Director May Mailman, and Democratic advisor and strategist Melissa DeRosa. Thank you all for coming on. May Mailman, to you first. John Fetterman says that Trump has a connection to Pennsylvania voters. Watch. Do we not have
saying this, whether it was Biden or then became Harris, I said it's going to be very close. And Trump definitely has a connection with voters here in Pennsylvania, and that's why it's going to be close. But there's a lot of tremendous amount of energy for Harris as well, too.
And May, it really could all come through Pennsylvania.
It really could. And, you know, good for John Fetterman for going on Joe Rogan for several hours, even though Kamala Harris couldn't do it. She could just do a few seconds on SNL. But it's true. Trump has a connection with Pennsylvania, not only because he was shot there and all the enthusiasm, but things that people forget, like the East Palestine. That was Ohio, but that's on the Pennsylvania border. These people are culturally very similar in Ohio and Pennsylvania, and they feel his attention to the working class. They feel his attention to taking down the Washington establishment and fighting for them. So, yes, I do think that there is a connection there. Does connection mean they're going to show up and vote? That's the real question.
It really is. Melissa DeRosa, to you now, because Kamala Harris is running different ads. We're talking about the Middle East on Israel in Michigan than she's running in Pennsylvania. Watch this, and I'll get your comment.
I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself.
What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering.
Does it come across as disingenuous to run separate ads in separate states, targeting and saying different things to different people, Melissa?
No, listen, this is politics. And you have Donald Trump, who goes out and speaks very passionately about Jewish issues in Israel. And then you see him in Dearborn, Michigan 2 days ago, courting the Palestinian vote. And I don't see him in that diner saying, we can only end the war if you release the hostages. So, of course, you're going to have different tailored messages to different audiences. What you really have to watch for is the flip-flops. Donald Trump came to New York and said he's going to fix SALT when he broke SALT. So in the last final days, it's right the voters are skeptical. But I think in that instance, it's not an inconsistent message.
Yeah, and what about you? I mean, Jessica, you work these numbers. You are always in, and when they say it's going to be close, you were telling me earlier, it's going to be close.
It's going to be close, and we knew that from the beginning. We always knew that this was going to come down to a few states and a few thousand voters in each one of those states. What you have to look at right now is those first-time voters that are turning out early and banking those votes. What does that mean? It means that the Republican side can move on to lower propensity voters. When we are outperforming the way that we are when it comes to the early vote, that is good news for Republicans.
Yeah, I want to play this because Trump's closing ads have a little bit of garbage in them. Watch.
We know what they think of us.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
So if Donald Trump can get through all of that, we can get out to vote.
May Mailman, is it effective?
I think so, because it turns Kamala's closing message on itself, which is she's trying to be just what Joe Biden said, is I'm the unity person. No, you're not. Let's actually remember what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been screaming at us for 4 years, and especially in the past few weeks. You're garbage, you're fascist, you're MAGA extremist, you're, as Kathy Hochul said, you're anti-American, you're anti-woman, you're misogynistic, you're racist. Oh, that's not unity. And I think that this ad really captures and reminds people that there is one person who is fighting for all Americans.
It's a good point, Melissa DeRosa, because she does. I mean, Kamala Harris is running ads, and we're going to show it right here, running ads where she's talking about uniting the country. And then her rhetoric is, it's not really all that uniting. Watch this.
We see in our fellow Americans neighbors, not enemies.
Together, we'll build a brighter future for our nation.
These United States of America, we are not a vessel for the schemes of wannabe dictators.
Doesn't feel all that unifying. What do you think, Melissa?
Listen, I think at the end of this campaign, you're seeing her try to close out on a positive message. She was out rallying today. It was the first time she hadn't actually named Donald Trump by name. But unquestionably, it was a screw up by President Biden to say what he said, what Kathy Hochul said this weekend, what was said about Republican women around Trump the last several days. I think all of the surrogates would do well to shut up and to let the principals take this thing over the finish line. And it does muddy the message. I think there's been too much negativity on both sides. And at the end of the day, voters want to hear what you're going to do for them. And that's why she's closing out on positive.
I mean, they're both going crazy tomorrow, Jessica. That's the whole point. You got all these. Trump's going to hit 4 different rallies, right? Kamala Harris is going to be busy. Is it affected? Does it matter? Or is this thing, is it people are done? They're going to go and they're going to vote how they're going to vote?
I think the turnout is the most important. I do think that people largely have already made up their mind. They are not changing a lot of people's minds, but what they are doing is turning them out, and that is what is going to make the difference. We have so many close races, not just the presidential, but these down ticket races too, where the turnout is going to make the difference.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Jessica, Melissa, May, thank you. We appreciate your time.